Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the 11th service of Alayla Ministry, where our faith is rooted in God, our divine creator. I am minister, teacher, student, and servant Andrea Grace. And just for fun, today's date is the 7th of the 7th, and this is the 11th service. The 11th service on the 7th of the 7th. All right, so thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining me today. Today's service, we will be doing a deeper exploration into the art of meditation as a spiritual practice. And so to that, let us first start with our prayer. Bringing our two hands to meet in front of the heart, lifting from the heart, bowing the head, surrendering the I know mind to the wisdom of the open heart. Take a nice centering breath. Divine Creator, I know that my time here on earth is limited. You remind us to make the most of every opportunity and not to waste time. I want to use each moment wisely. I ask that my will be aligned with your will, to be the best steward of all you provide. Help me know your wisdom so I can apply my heart, mind, and body with what you're doing in the world right now. I want to use my natural and spiritual gifts in ways that allow me to be an instrument of your love, generosity, wisdom, and grace. Amen. And let us review the Alayla mission. Our mission is to provide a safe and supportive space for individuals seeking holistic healing and spiritual guidance, grounded in our faith in God. We believe that true healing comes from a connection to the divine and the recognition of the inherent divinity within each individual. We seek to honor the body, mind, and spirit connection through natural healing methods aligned with God's design for the human body. We strive to empower individuals to take an active role in their own healing process by providing guidance and support that's rooted in spiritual principles. And we aim to create an environment that fosters compassion, connection, and growth. Through our work, we hope to inspire others to deepen their faith in God and discover the transformative power of spiritual healing. I shared in the last service how I had heard a voiceless yet audible voice unexpectedly say to me, the answer is meditation. The voice was male. It was startling. It was unusual. And at the time, it was my 30th year. So at the time, I had no experience with meditation. I barely even knew how to spell the word. To me, meditation was just something for the ascetics, for nuns and monks and folks whose vocation it was to have that kind of disciplinary practice. But it wasn't something that someone like me did. So it was very strange. It wasn't a word that I would normally think about or connect with. Again, it was quite unusual. And then I shared how, in response to hearing that message, that I spoke to my stepmom about it, and then she guided me through a meditation. And then as time passed, I also signed up for a class, and that class also included some meditations. And then actually what I didn't share was that beyond that class, I also started to attend a regular meditation class. So what I wanted to talk about today, that essentially there are two kinds of meditation. And then within these two types of meditation practice, there are variations within them, but just for the sake of our conversation together, the two kinds of meditation are, the first one, which is what I experienced first, is what we would call a guided visualization or imagination-based meditation, where we're using the imagination as the bridge to help brainwave states shift from beta into alpha. It's really in the alpha brainwave states that images, pictures, sounds, and color appear. And so the second form of meditation practice is point of focus meditation, which is when we use our ability to pay attention and harness that gift, that skill, onto one thing. And so that's how there are variations within that method, because the one thing could be many things, but the one thing, it could be the breath, the one thing could be the heart beating, the one thing could be the sensations in the body, the one thing could be eyes gently open, or the gaze being soft, and observing the light of a candle, the flame of a candle, or a flower. And so as I share these two methods with you, just kind of feel them out for yourself. And so for my part, I noticed that I personally had a natural gift of being able to facilitate a guided visual meditation. So when I first opened up my practice, I guess I could say, which was in 2008, that was one of my first offerings, which was using imagination-based meditation to help guide people to receive information, to get answers, to receive healing. So it's a very powerful method, and it's the technique that my stepmom used in that very first meditation that I practiced. And then when I started taking the weekly meditation practice, that was more of a point of focus experience. And I noticed that during those meditations, where there might be some gentle guidance in the beginning, just helping to position the body, relax the body, and then help give instructions on where and how to guide the focus of the mind, whether again it was on the breath or on the belly or on the body or the heart beating. Then what would happen when I would go into these deep relaxed states is that the light, but in my mind's eye, would change color. The mind's eye might be awash with a red or a green, an indigo blue, a violet, and then what would appear out of those colors would be shapes. And I might see, actually, I often saw an eye, portraits of people, but the portraits of the people were two-dimensional. And when I asked the teacher about that, she just said that that was an effect of the brainwave states beginning to slow down and consciousness expanding. And not to necessarily make meaning of it, but just simply notice, and then just, bring your attention back to the point of focus. So I had some very light experience with it at first, but I can't say that I knew. I couldn't, and I wouldn't say at that early time, again, this is now back in 2008, 2009, that I was a meditator per se, even though at the time I was offering a menu, I guess, of different guided meditations. The menu that I was offering at the time consisted of helping connect with a loved one who's passed away, because I had had direct experience with that when I took the class that I had shared in the last service, which was like a beginner psychic development class. And there were guided meditations included in that. And in the guided meditation, I ended up meeting my sister, who I didn't recognize at the time because she appeared as a fully formed adult. And so I didn't recognize her. I didn't know who she was. But that guided meditation had got us to a place where essentially what I remember is that there was a door, and the prompt was that there's somebody on the other side of the door who knows you and loves you and wants to connect with you. And the next question was just see if it's a man or a woman. The answer that came to me was that it was a female, it was a woman. And then, okay, now go ahead and open the door and see who it is. And I saw a woman who was about my age, who had brown hair. And the next prompt was, do you know who it is? Do you recognize this person? Are they familiar to you? And my immediate response was no. But then quickly following that, I knew who it was. And it was a very healing and cathartic experience. So my personal experience with these guided meditations is that they can create the conditions for healing as we slow the brainwave state down, expand consciousness to go beyond the personal story, beyond the beta mind. Beta mind is kind of stuck in the personal story, but is also the brainwave state where we're learning, categorizing, analyzing, judging, criticizing, and all of those things. And so then fast forward along the way, some years later, after I had become more established in my practice here, I met a woman who was working with children, and we collaborated and created a program called Meditation for the Imagination for Children, which is a fantastic program. It includes both the guided visualization type meditations as well as point of focus type meditations. And so we were bringing that to primary schools for a time. To that, though, I hadn't yet really experienced an intensive single point meditation. And God is so good because I'm always given what I need in the right time. So at the time I had a few folks coming regularly for treatments and also for classes who were of Indian descent and who had talked about this program called The Art of Living. And when they described it to me, I was horrified because the Art of Living program was basically 10 days of silent meditation. And I didn't think that I was ready for that. But then along the way, another dear friend of mine, actually who I was visiting when I made the video from PA, she had come across an Australian teacher whose tradition came from the Zen practice. And she was coming to the United States to offer a 5-day silent meditation retreat. And my friend didn't want to do it on her own. And so she invited me along. And so that was really my first experience with silent meditation. And then it was fantastic. It was miraculous. And so then I actively was seeking the 10-day experience. And so the first time I did that was in Sydney, and that was through the Vipassana Center there. And so previously I have invited you to take time out of your busy day to be still. And that's tricky for people because, well, what am I supposed to do? It's very difficult for the modern person to sit still because we're such doers. And then as soon as we sit still, the mind gives us something, something to do, or the mind distracts you by telling you that you need to go to the bathroom, or that you need a snack, or that you're thirsty, or that somebody's going to call, or you're going to get interrupted, and it becomes chaos. So it is important, I think, that if you live with people, if you are in a household, that it's important to inform your loved ones that you're going to take some time to be still. You could even invite your family members to sit with you and to be still. And then you have the choice. You can find a guided meditation online that you could do together, or you could set a timer and then just simply give yourself nothing whatsoever to do, but focus on the breath or the belly or your own heart beating or sensations in the body. And now, often what comes through a quantum healing hypnosis session includes a meditation practice. So oftentimes a question might be, what is the best next step, or what is the best way to help this person relieve their anxiety or have peace and calm around a relationship that is a power struggle that creates conflict? What is needed to strengthen their divine connection? What is the best practice to help enhance their intuition or their clear senses? And the answer that comes through, now everybody is different, but the answer that inevitably comes through more often than not, almost every session, if a question like that is posed, is the answer is meditation. So it's so amazing to me that that was the wisdom that I had heard all those years ago. And then it seems like over these last 20 years, almost every day is a validation of that wisdom and of that truth. The answer truly is meditation. And sometimes the advice or the next step or the method that the infinite wisdom provides them, it's not extreme. It might just be start with 3 minutes, be still for 3 minutes, and then set the timer for 6 minutes and sit for 6 minutes for a week, and then set the timer for 9 minutes and sit for 9 minutes for a week. And what I've noticed is that if I had to say, if you were to ask me the bare minimum of a practice that will provide the most benefit, that gives time for the monkey mind to settle down, for the resistance to fade away, to start to fade away anyway, is 20 minutes. And I read somewhere, I heard somewhere along the line that 20 minutes is the metabolic life of a breath. When we take that inhale and we receive that oxygen, and the oxygen is, moved into the blood, and then the blood moves that oxygen into the organs and throughout the body. And then the waste becomes that carbon dioxide that gets, breathed out. That whole process is 20 minutes. And so if I'm working with somebody, that's what we're working towards, to get to at least 20 minutes. And then what I notice is that the even greater benefit, honestly, is to double that, to get to 40 minutes. What I've noticed personally is it's in that last 20 minutes that the mind, that consciousness truly expands. And the paradox of it is that it actually feels like a sinking, that you're sinking deeper into meditation. So if you're reading any kind of text, you might actually come across that kind of description, that you sink deeper into meditation. The phenomena, though, is that the consciousness is expanding. And what's miraculous about meditation is that as consciousness expands, it expands beyond the body, or as we experience this sinking deeper into this meditative state, it goes beyond and further away from the body. So what happens is that the body, which is innocent and has been collecting data, collecting information in order to help protect you in this physical experience, it holds things. And so if you experience something unpleasant, the body has stored that information to remember it, for the purpose of protecting you from ever having to experience it again, or to be more fortified in the event that that event happens again. And then when it comes to the pleasurable things, it makes a mental note and it says, okay, well, this was pleasurable, and it remembers that for you and helps you to seek that again. So the practice of meditation is the middle way. We're not avoiding the unpleasant and we're not seeking the pleasant. We're simply being here now, where there is nothing to seek, where there is no seeking. And so the body is this faithful servant, and it's holding these energies for you, which essentially is what pain is in the body. The body reveals the past to us as pain. It communicates the past to us as pain. When we are truly and deeply, see, again, I can't help but say deeply, when we are truly in the present moment, when all aspects of what we are have aligned and settled into the gift and the grace of this now moment, there is no pain. Truly, when the mind has become one with the now moment, it's incompatible with pain, because pain exists in the beta level of consciousness. When we move into the alpha states, when we move into the theta states, pain is an incompatible experience in those brainwave states. And the first time I recognized this phenomena was when I was 16, actually, and I had torn my ACL. And so I had the reconstruction surgery. And so I was recovering from that. And to help me distract myself from the discomfort, I was watching these old, I don't know, I had this fascination with old black and white movies at the time. And so I was watching them, and I noticed that when my mind went deeply into the story, got so involved in the story, that all of my attention, all of my focus was on the story. And I have a good imagination. I'm one of those kids that when I'm watching a story that's interesting, it fills my mind. And so as a result of that filling my mind, I noticed that I didn't have pain. When my mind was filled with the story that I was watching as the movie, there was no pain. And so that was another thing that I couldn't unknow. It was an observation that I've held and carried with me through all of these years. So that by the time that I got to actually doing one of these silent meditation retreats, first it was the 5-day, then I did a 7-day Zen meditation practice, and then I did the 10-day practice through Vipassana. Then I got to experience it firsthand, how as consciousness expands, it goes beyond the body. But at the same time, the phenomena is, as the mind expands beyond the body now is free to let go of what it's been holding on to. It's an incredible phenomena. But to be honest, it happens over time. It happens over a consistent practice. And that's why I think the 5-day, 7-day, or 10-day meditation retreats are almost a prerequisite to freedom of mind, to freedom of emotions. And so what I noticed when I did my first 10-day was that things started to get released from the bodies. The 10-day retreat that I did in Sydney was full, and that meditation hall holds around 100 people. So I'm meditating with 99 other people. And so what I observed was that in the first couple of days, this is a consistent phenomena. Actually, I observed this in the second meditation retreat as well that I did. A cold moves through the meditation hall. And so the sniffles start over there, and then they start to move their way over time. But by the 5th day, there's silence. There's a lot of shuffling, a lot of coughing, a lot of movement in the first couple of days, but then everything starts to settle down. So there is something to just showing up every day to a practice and giving yourself nothing whatsoever to do, but be still. And it's in that stillness that the inspiration can make its way in through your consciousness, because now your consciousness is not distracted by everyday things. It's not getting kind of churned up or even blocked by beta type thinking, by the type of thinking that occurs in beta level of consciousness. And so what I also observed was that over time, the body will release, in the Vipassana tradition, it's called sankharas, which are the energetic congestion. It's the energetic congestion that sticks to your energy field and then makes its way into the body and into the joints. And again, that's what you experience as pain. So over time, that lets you go. And the process itself can be excruciating. I don't want to make light of it. It can be. What I experienced was an incredible burning, a heat in the body, a nausea, excruciating pain, actually. So it seems to, I'm not selling this well, I know, but it seems to kind of build up to this crescendo, if you can stand it, and then you pop through the surface tension of your own discomfort and your own history that's being held in the body, and then it lets you go. You're free, and you're so free after it. I remember I had made a video on Facebook, I think. I wonder if I can find that for you. I'll share it if I can track that down. So, all right. So I think I've shared enough. Let's go ahead and take a break and maybe just use this time to tune into the music and just maybe not do something in the break, but just be still. Just enjoy the music. So this is the time that we pass the basket. And so I just want to thank you for supporting the good work that we're doing here at the Lila Ministry, where we move chaos to peace. It's actually an easy thing to do, and so I'm grateful to everyone who contributes, who can help with that, to help ourselves become instruments of the divine, which is the most important thing. So contributions can be made by check. You can make the check out to a Lila Ministry, and that's sent to 430 Springfield Avenue, Suite 209 in Berkeley Heights, New Jersey. The zip code there is 07922. Or if you prefer, you can use Zelle, which is a direct deposit, and then I am still using PayPal. So with Zelle, you can use the account number, and then the name is a Lila Ministry. And with PayPal, you can use the URL there or the QR code. So now just enjoy the music, and I'll see you in a bit. Even our words have no meaning, 'cause everything we should say can never find its way out of our doubts. I need some shelter, or just a reason. Can I hold on to you until I know what is true? I'm not as strong as I thought I was. Everything we built turns to dust. Didn't fall in love with the fire, just to find ourselves a dancing light. All right, so welcome back. Welcome back, everyone. So now what's interesting is that the word meditation appears in the Old Testament, predominantly in Psalms, and doesn't actually appear, doesn't appear at all in the New Testament. However, in the New Testament, there are descriptions of contemplation practices, which we would describe as meditation. And so in a previous service, we looked at the etymology of contemplation. And so just remember that the temple part points to a measured or dedicated space for worship or observation, such as what we would do in a temple. And then what's fun about that is that this part of our anatomy is called the temples. And so here is our space, the measured space, the dedicated space through which we observe, through which we worship. And we also looked in a previous service before that, the etymology of worship, which is to do with worth. So now let's look at the etymology of the word meditation. So we've got contemplation and meditation, to contemplate and to meditate. And so the word meditation, the med part, is associated with measures and also deliberations. Deliberations is also considerations, right? And so then the verb meditari, from the root med, meant to, also Latin, meant to think, reflect, consider, or study. Meditatio came from the verb meaning thinking over or contemplation, right? So it seems that contemplation and meditation are inherently linked. And what's interesting is that, so we find the word meditation in the Old Testament. So mostly we find the word meditation in the book of Psalms. And as I was doing my research into who authored the book of Psalms, there's contradictory information about that. But I'm of the mind that they were authored over time and by different authors, by different spiritualists, that then got adopted and integrated into the works through the priests, then incorporated into the scriptures, and then made it into the canons. So so it's important to do your own research, but my understanding of the authors of the book of Psalms in the Old Testament included Egyptians such as Akhenaten, also Mesopotamian spiritual teachers, and then the missionaries of Melchizedek, who was one of the main influences for a monotheistic point of view and wanting to help move at that time, which was at Abraham's time. So this was pre-Moses. That was one of the first active influences of a monotheistic God concept over a polytheistic one. So let's look at a couple of instances where okay, so in the Old Testament, we find the word meditation, meditate. We'll go over 7, seeing as it's the 7th of the 7th month. All right. So let's look at Psalm 1. In Psalm 1, it says, "But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night." And so here it sounds like the word meditate could be exchanged for contemplates, considers, We find another example in Psalm 19, number 14. May these words of my mouth and this meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight, Lord, my rock and my redeemer. In Psalm 49, 3, my mouth will speak words of wisdom. The meditation of my heart will give you understanding. And Psalm 77, I will consider all your works and meditate on all your mighty deeds. And so in this one, we have both consider and meditate. And so what is the purpose of that? Considering all of your works and meditating on your mighty deeds. It's an example, right? It's creating a possibility and to seek and then to find the deeper truth of that which came before in order for those works to be observable and as well as those mighty deeds. We have Psalm 104, number 34. May my meditation be pleasing to him as I rejoice in the Lord. Similarly, we have Psalm 119, number 27. Cause me to understand the way of your precepts, that I may meditate on your wonderful deeds. And Psalm 119, number 97. Oh, how I love your law. I meditate on it all day long. And so in the New Testament, examples of descriptions that we would summarize or we would apply the word meditation to. For example, in Matthew. So Matthew 6. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. And this quite closely describes the Eastern practice of meditation. When you go deep into a Vipassana practice, there's an opportunity to literally withdraw yourself into a quiet, dark, private room and be still and wait. The waiting includes that point of focus practice. But essentially, that's what you're doing. Meditation is the practice of simply being and waiting without waiting to receive God's grace. God's grace is here. It's just that our minds become so busy. And that's what I was going to say. I didn't remember. But remembering now, perfect timing, is that in the busyness of our everyday lives, the mind spends a lot of its time in the past. That I don't know how they came up with this statistic, but I have heard along the way that 98% of our thoughts are the thoughts that we had yesterday, that we don't really have original thoughts. And that a lot of the time the mind will ride off into the future and have spending its time in what we can say is imagination. Now, at the same time, thoughts of the past, thoughts of the future can only ever happen in the now space, but our energy shifts away and is distracted and disconnected from the fullness of this now moment. And so what can happen as a result of that is that the energy body can kind of move in certain directions outside of the body. And in the English language, we have an expression, beside myself. And we usually interpret that or use that in the context of a shock or a trauma or a great upset, where, that was so upsetting, that was so traumatic that I was beside myself. But actually what that's pointing to is a true energetic phenomena, where literally the energy body moves and becomes beside the physical form, which is not a great place to be, because you don't have all of your energies available to you fully embodied in a balanced way, and actually then can create the conditions for dis-ease and imbalance and even injury. And so what I noticed in my first 10-day meditation experience was that that was true for me. My energetic body was not snapped into my physical body. And so these practices can help your energetic body become fully embodied. And that's important, actually. But if you aren't aware of these things, how would you know, right? How would you know to do that? And so imagine that, right? So what's being described in Matthew 6 is that, okay, actually taking yourself into a private room where you close the door with the intent to be still and wait for the Father, waiting for him to see what you're doing in secret. And again, as you do this, the energies start to move. The nervous system starts to settle down. The body's natural ability to balance and harmonize starts to work optimally. The fluid inside of the body, that spinal fluid, starts to move optimally. The pineal gland can start to decalcify if the calcification process has started to occur. And so just by the intent to be still, and then following that intent by being still, focusing on one thing, the gift and the grace of your own existence, is enough that it creates the conditions for miracles. And this is reflected again in Luke. So at Luke 5, it says, "But Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed." And so again, we as human beings learn through story. We're creatures of story. And this is why I'm sharing my stories, to create possibility, and also to give you permission. So he was showing us that there is this practice of withdrawing for prayer, for contemplation, for meditation. Now, I love this part in Philippians. "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things." And this is so wonderful, because this is actually teaching us how to use the gift and the grace of memory. What if memory was a gift that was given to us, that we were able to use the power of attention and intention to actually recall things that are lovely, are pure, are admirable, are praiseworthy, to use this language, that are good, and bring that into our present moment, and feel the difference of then using the gift and the grace of our of memory to go into the past and recall that which is unlovely, that which is unpleasant, that which is unpraiseworthy, and bringing that into the now moment, and feel the difference in the body. So this is so beautiful. This is such a beautiful invitation to help us become wise and to attain self-mastery by not letting our minds get away with unrestricted and unrestrained wanderings. We want to be able to use our mind as a tool to actually use the past to bring more grace into this now moment. Otherwise, the practice is, if that which is unpleasant has occurred in the past, our job is to allow it to be in the past, to open ourselves up, to be willing to recognize and to assimilate the great gifts and benefits, because somehow there is a gift and a grace and a benefit for the unpleasant, to get that message sooner and later, and then just leave it in the past. Why would we want to bring it into our now moment to steal the peace of our now moment? So self-mastery is what they're teaching us here in Philippians, which is to think about that which is noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable. Oh, it's so good. So good. And then Colossians reminds us, set your minds on things above, not on earthly things. And so this is just reminding us to put our gift of attention and intention on bringing to mind that which is spiritual, that which is true, that which is holy, that which is lovely, that which is good, that which is generous, as opposed to worldly distractions. Worldly distractions often create the conditions for scarcity mindset, which then creates the conditions for fear, which then creates the conditions for worry. You see where it goes, right? So, and then the New Testament does reference the Old Testament. And so while for my part, I'm ready to archive at least the first 5 books and put them on a shelf and just kind of use them as a reference, as a good to know, as opposed to deferring to them as a spiritual text. I'm ready to put that away. The book of Psalms, however, is filled with beautiful and inspirational ideas, and that I think help connect us to God in a powerful way. And so while the word meditation for most people now seems to refer mostly to Eastern practices, practices that come out of Japan, out of Tibet, out of Nepal, out of India, we can find the same phenomena in the Christian tradition. And so while the Eastern practices, at least for me, in my experience, are more disciplined in terms of the practice, that there's a specific protocol to be applied, though both Eastern and Western practices involve a form of mental training and discipline and introspection and contemplation. All right, so let's finish with a 3-minute meditation. And so for your part, just find somewhere that you can take a seat. Let your attention come to the sit bones and your tailbone, and just let yourself rest into the incredible unconditional natural support that's here, even if it's as a piece of furniture or if you plopped yourself on the floor as the floor. And then bring your attention upwards to the heart, which is where we started with our prayer. If you want to, bring your 2 hands to meet at the heart in what we would call the prayer position. You can do that, or you can just let your hands rest on your thighs. All right. I'm just setting a timer here. And so just lifting from the heart, dropping the chin. And just gently start to bring your attention to the breath as it's happening right here at the nostrils. And just giving yourself permission to be curious and observe the breath as it's happening right here at the nostrils. And just aware that the exhale is the opportunity to release and let go. Making room and creating space to then breathe in the new. And so we exhale the carbon dioxide. It's a gift to the trees and other green things. And we breathe in the oxygen that the trees and the green things breathe out. And at any time, feel free to drop the shoulders. If it's available to you, allow a gentle smile to play on your face. And just give yourself this one thing to do, and that is to pay attention to the direct experience of the breath as it's happening. Right here at the nostrils. And just thank the infinite. It's the first time I've used the timer on my computer. It's a cute sound though. And so now just say thank you. Just say thank you to God for this opportunity to have this life. And for my part, I'm grateful for your company, for us incarnating on the planet at this time to journey together, to have this experience. My wish is that you commit to taking time out of your busy day for meditation, for contemplation. And feel free to share your experiences or ask questions in the comments. And so, so please share. And just remember that I offer an opportunity to join my in-person meditation class online. So just go to the calendar on the AlilaCenter.org website, and the next meditation class, it's called mindfulness-based meditation, which just simply means that your mind is full of one thing instead of many distracting things. And that's usually on the third Tuesday of the month, unless I'm traveling. And I'm not traveling until the end of the month, so I think it lands perfectly. And I have changed, because I am traveling at the end of the month. I have changed the meditation and natural healing self-help class from the fourth Monday to this coming Monday. And you can also join that online. So again, the registration link is on the calendar there. All right. And then if you really need assistance on finding peace, then just reach out and I can help you with that. And the exchange just is a contribution to the ministry. All right. So thank you for spending Sunday with me, the 7th of the 7th. So good. No mistakes. And so I'll see you next time.